Okay, we're not gonna spend a whole lot of time doing the whole warm-up thing. Yeah, this is gonna be a curse stream. Hi, welcome everybody. This is PNG me. So this is how it's going to be today. It's been a while since I've done a webcam stream, and yeah, like I said, this is gonna be a little cursed. The setup that I have right now, I'm like straddling my tripod. I can barely see the cards because the microphone's in the way. Yeah, there's just a lot going on. There's just, you know, we'll make do. But it is going to be a lot of fun today. This is something a little different. I've been talking about it for a while and figured, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. So we're going to be playing, I'm going to be playing a very old trading card game called Ani-Mayhem. So this is a lot of fun, and something a little different, something from the young me that I was thinking about. I don't know why. I don't know what got me into thinking about this, but I thought it would be something kind of unique for the stream, because I don't know how many people these days have ever even heard of this. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get in here to the camera as best we can. We are going to be playing the set 0. So just a little bit about the game, because this is this is how to describe this. So a little bit of history about this. So this was created by Pioneer. Now, I don't know how many people these days have ever heard of Pioneer, but they used to do a little bit of everything when it came to media. You know, they would make car radios, actual radios, televisions, pretty much anything electronic related. And they were like super huge back in the 80s and 90s, right? I know the vinyl's becoming a really big thing. If you ever have a chance to buy like Pioneer cabinets for speakers, don't even hesitate, just buy them, because they're probably among the best that you will ever get. So they were really known for like quality electronics. I think they were bought out a few years ago, but one of the things that they were known for among us anime fans were their distribution. So what really made this game unique is that this was a game that was actually distributed and licensed by Pioneer. And what was really cool about it is that this was probably one of the first, if not the first, anime trading card game that made it here to the United States. Translated English, all of that. And what was really cool is that, you know, growing up, you used to have like 4Kids and Funimation and that kind of thing, right? You'd come home, you'd watch Dragon Ball Z and maybe Sailor Moon or something like that on Adult Swim, and that would be about as far as most people got in their anime well, right? But for those of you that were like really interested in learning about a lot of different series and different shows beyond that, you know, the real hardcore stuff, yeah. The real anime, you know, that kind of thing. You started to look to Pioneer because they handled the distribution and licensing for a lot of the other, sometimes more adult series, not necessarily like R18 kind of stuff, but you know, they would do stuff like Armitage the Third, which was definitely like heavier hitting than Sailor Moon was at the time, right? It's kind of dark, kind of gritty. But you know, they also had some light shows as well. As you can see here, we've got Ranma Half, Tenchi Muyo, things like that. So when they had the license to do a lot of this stuff, Magic the Gathering had just started taking off. And by the time that this came out, like the trading card thing was in full swing. Like Pokemon was a thing at that point. This was like 95, 96, something like that. And yeah, this was like really one of the first anime card games. But what made it really unique, more than anything else, was that you could play by yourself. Like, you can play it as a solitaire game. So you can do multiplayer, or you can do it on your own. And, you know, I don't know if we're going to play like a full game here on this stream, because I got a lot of stuff I got to do this afternoon. But I kind of wanted to show you how it works and have a little bit of fun with it. Now, this right here is not a booster box, obviously. It's very, very hard to find these cards nowadays. They had 3 main sets, and each of the sets dealt with different series. So this one was Ani-Mayhem. We'll take a look at the box here in a little bit. See if I can get it up here so you can see it. But yeah, it's Ani-Mayhem, Tenchi Muyo, Al Hazard, Bubblegum Crisis. You know, shows that are very, very well known nowadays. But back then, we're just kind of like the underground stuff, right? So this is a starter deck. The actual booster boxes for set 0 are pretty much non-existent at this point. I mean, really, booster boxes for any of the sets are pretty difficult to come by. Set 1 is probably going to be your best bet. Set 1 had like Armitage the Third, Dominion Tank Police. It had a lot of really good series, but they were even lesser known than these, right? And then you had set 2, that was Dragon Ball Z, and we'll get into that here in a little bit too. But yeah, if you want to find like a booster box for these, I was searching forever. I mean, I mentioned several times in some of my past streams of waiting for buy. That was all of these packs right here. But booster boxes themselves with like 23 packs or whatever, like they're going for like $300 to $500 right now. I don't exactly understand why, because the cards themselves are really not worth anything. But yeah, it was very, very hard. And I don't think I have a whole lot of set 0 cards to begin with. I bought what I could afford. So we've got our starter deck here. 6 packs we're going to open. I have no idea what is in this, because I could not find a list for the starter decks whatsoever. But this should have everything we need to play like kind of a spec game here in a second. And yeah, let's go ahead and open this up, shall we? So do it here, because I'm like reaching around through the tripod. It's been a weird day, you know. Thanks everyone that came by a little bit earlier this morning. Like that was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning my time. I've gotten a little bit more work done since then. Half of it was just trying to get this stream set up. But yeah, you know, it's 2 streams in one day. We're finally making it, right? But yeah, you know, the same as always. If you're interested in seeing more content and seeing some more stuff coming up, you know, like and subscribe, help get to that 1,500 subs, and we'll get, you know, we'll be well on our way there. All right. And yeah, you know, I don't know how this is gonna look because my webcam is not like the best of qualities here. But yeah, I'll try and show you what all's going on with this. But yeah, you know, it was a really, really fun game. We used to play this all the time back in high school, and you know, this was back when eBay was like brand new, right? So we would like all pull together our money back in junior high and high school to buy a booster box and split the packs between everyone that bought in, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, we were big into like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering at first, but then we wanted something new. So this was the next step up for us. And yeah, we ended up buying a few different booster boxes over the years. All right. So the overall idea of this and the way that it works is, I guess the best way to possibly describe it, I don't know if you've ever played Forbidden Desert or Forbidden Island. It's probably the best comparison for what kind of game this is. It's just, instead of a board game, it's a card game. So the idea is you have a bunch of these locations, and your goal is to dig up items from those locations. Now, to make it a little bit harder for you, you're going to have enemies, and there's a little bit more combat. You know, there's not a whole lot of combat in Forbidden Desert. But yeah, you have enemies called disasters. Sometimes they're enemies that you fight. Sometimes they are, you know, things that affect the world around you. And yeah, the entire idea is you need to beat the disasters and take more items from the board than they do, right? And this was really cool. They throw in one of these chit cards because just like Forbidden Desert or Forbidden Island, you're going to be moving around your, you know, quote unquote board, right? So you usually want tokens. They put in these chit cards because you could actually tear them up and use these to move around your board. It has all of the characters that you have available. Yeah, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be choosing some characters. I'm guessing they're already chosen for us, being a starter deck. And yeah, we'll have to see what kind of disasters we have. So you have a few different types of items, or a few different types of cards. You have your locations, and this is kind of the baseline for everything. So you put these locations down. They've got the green backing on there, and you're going to see here, like, this has strength and survival. This is the Spring of Life, I'm guessing, from Ranma Half. I would, if I had to assume. There you go. See it all. But yeah, so this has strength ×2 and survival. You need those skills to dig up the items at that location, right? So when we get to the character cards, you're going to see they have skills as well. So yeah, you just basically, you have to match the skills to be able to dig at any particular location. So we've got that. We've got our disasters right here. Now there's two types of disasters. You can see the little D up there at the very, very top. You have minor disasters, which is what this is. This one affects the entire board, but it's not a combat card. All characters at location teleported 4 locations to the right, right? And then you're going to have some that have a D and then an exclamation mark. Those are your major disasters. Those are usually your combat-oriented ones, and when the Dragon Ball Z set, that would be like your Vegeta, Nappa, and that kind of thing, right? So usually they're pretty big deals, right? Boom. Now you have these here. These are your combat cards. So these are what we are going to be drawing when we get to actual combat. Now it's two-sided because there's actually two different types of combat. You can see on this one, it's got the little defensive symbol. That's your defense. Defense is equivalent to health minus any items or equipment that you put in on your characters at the time. And then when you flip it to the other side, it's got the little lip symbol down there. That is charm combat. So some characters can initiate charm combat. Obviously, we've got Shampoo right there. So that is another little factor that you have to put into it. Again, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see most of this with the crappy webcam, but I'm going to try doing my best here, right? So that one adds 1 to your charm, right? So yeah, you're going to be drawing those throughout the course of the game. Now, your standard draws, you know, the kind of things that you're going to be doing, you know, every round, like, you know, you draw cards in Magic. That's usually the blue cards. There's a few different types. This one is a universal card. It's an environmental card that affects the entire board. Got a little sun symbol up there. You have, you know, equipment, which can be equipped to a specific character. You have flash cards, work just like Magic. You can play them at any time. The way these work is you always want 7 cards in your hand. So when we get to our draw phase, we always draw until we get to 7 or until we draw a disaster card out of the deck. I'll get into the rules on that in just a little bit. Yeah, so this is like the bulk of your cards. So you can get these characters or disasters out of when you're doing your draw stuff. Pretty simple. I mean, if you guys have played Magic, there's really nothing in this that is going to be more complicated than Magic the Gathering, right? But it kind of gives you an idea. All right, and then of course, these are your items. Clearly, because it says item on it. This is a mountain signpost. There we go. And of course, these can be equipped to your character, just like any others, because you need to be able to move them around. Now, when we start getting to some of these other location cards, you're going to notice that some of them say Haven. That's basically your starting point. Like I said, I don't really know what all is involved with the starter deck, how it actually moves things around. And yeah. Now, the rules have changed over time. You know, one of the things with this game, and one of the reasons I think probably didn't last all that long, as there were a lot of addendums, a lot of rule changes and that kind of thing when the Dragon Ball Z set came in, which we'll get into in a little bit. It kind of threw all of the balance out of whack, because obviously you've got, you know, Ranma Half and Tenchi Muyo and stuff running around in these earlier sets, and then all of a sudden you've got Saiyans running around, and there's no way to balance that if you're trying to keep it, you know, lore compliant or whatever. I think they were trying a little bit too hard to keep it lore compliant more than anything else. Oh, there you go, Miss Hanako or Hinako. So yeah, but yeah, you know, by the time the Dragon Ball Z set came around, like it was kind of a confusing game by that point. In addition to the balance being all kinds of out of whack, and just being a little bit too much, I think, for a lot of players at the time. Kind of surprised that Miss Hinako is not a combat card. Huh. All right. Of course, will attack Ranma first if in play. So that changes things up a little bit, because normally there's one of the reasons you can play this by yourself is there's usually a very strict order to things when it comes to combat and how disasters move around. Hey, so we got the cat version of Shampoo. Now you can see that Shampoo here has two different stats. There we go. So there will occasionally be times where you can switch the stats around. She's got two different versions of everything. Top right there is your attack. Second is defense / health, movement, charm, and then energy. I don't know how much energy is going to play in set 0 here, but it was obviously very, very important for the later sets. But yeah, this just lets you know that there is a transformation that can happen with these cards. You don't have to have both cards to transform, but you know, if you have the other card, you can kind of keep it as a sidebar and switch it in as much as. So that's why they have that on there. But with this being the starter deck, I don't know if we have regular Shampoo. I would assume so if we have Cat. All right. All right, so we've got the Royal Trees of Jirai right there. Yeah. Okay. These with the little triangle symbol, those are equipments. So that that just lets you know that it can be equipped to a character. So far, not a whole lot of combat cards for their starter deck. I'm a little surprised. Yeah. Now, one of the interesting things with this game, and one of the reasons I think the cards aren't necessarily worth as much as they probably would have been if they came out today, is that they do have rares, uncommons, and so on, but they're not listed on the card itself. So you actually have to like look up a list of what is what. You have an idea of how all of that works, right? They didn't really do shinies or anything like that, like SSR type cards, until you got to the Dragon Ball Z set. And yeah, a lot of the things that make these kind of like collectible cards nowadays, that like I said, this was like when card games were first starting to get pretty big. So there really wasn't any kind of comparison to it, right? Yeah, we got our combat cards. Oh no, close your eyes, kids. We have lingerie as our item. Calm yourself. Yeah, usually your item cards are going to like add specific like skills or something like that, and they're really important because, like I said, you need those skills to be able to do stuff at the location. So here we have really our first combat disaster. Now you kind of compare that to the stats of some of the past cards that we've been seeing. You can see it's got quite a bit higher attack and defense. One of the things to kind of keep in mind is that multiple people can attack a disaster, while the disaster only really attacks one. Kind of have to hope that they survive the onslaught a little bit. And then of course you're going to have all kinds of equipment and items that are, you know, onto a lot of this stuff too. Right? And of course disasters, as you can see, can move around just like everyone else. Like I said, the point is to beat the disasters to taking all of the item cards. these combat disasters, they will pick up the items and they will move around, and eventually they will leave the board. But again, there's a set way that they handle all of that. So when you're playing in solitaire mode, it gives you a decent idea of what you're going to be doing. Right? So we got our first flashcard, kind of gives you an idea. The entire amount of a character's energy, minimum of 3, gain +4 to 1 attack. Yeah. So they have to have at least 3 energy. Use this. It drains all of their energy, but they get +4 to attack, which is nice. That's not a bad card at all. All right. Got Kodachi right there, the Black Rose. Obviously a little bit weaker in terms of standard attack, but you can see 7 charm. So whenever we get into our game here in a little bit, it'll give you an idea of how we handle that. They handled it very, very differently between the set 0 and, you know, some of the later sets that we'll have here in a little bit. At Satellite Strike, that one is always, yeah. That one's always a really, really bad one. I feel like we did have this a lot when we used to play in high school, but yeah, it bonks all characters at a location, right? And is very, very, very hard to defeat. You can see you gotta have planetary, which basically a flying character, or 4 computer nerds to take it down. It just roams around the board. Now, when you're playing, your characters don't necessarily die. They usually get bonked. They only die if they take like double what their health is, but if their health just goes down to 0 or whatever, then they're just bonked and they're out of play. So not always like the worst case scenario, but yeah, Satellite Strike can be really annoying to deal with. Got another equipment card right there. Yeah. So that one's got the wrench, kind of gives you an idea. So equipments can only be applied to one character. Enhancements are the same way, the ones with the little triangle symbol. I think I said those were equipments earlier. No, they're enhancements. Kind of like a buff in an MMO or something. But gives you an idea. Whenever it comes down to the initial like play phases, you can play 1 enhancement, 1 equipment, and 1 environmental, worldwide, whatever. All right, another item there. But this one, it's not often I see items that require something. This one actually requires royalty to use. All right, hey, there we go. It'll wash you. Wondering when we get some more of the Tenchi Muyo stuff in there, right? Right. Fujisawa, all right. Now, I don't know as much about like El Hazard as I do the others. I don't know if this is El Hazard, but just kind of an, hey, Ryoko. There we go. Ryoki. Hey. Yeah, this is definitely bringing up some memories, man. Yeah. So when we get into our characters, it depends on which version you're playing. The nice thing with the solitaire version is that you can kind of do whatever you want as long as you're vaguely in the rules. But I think technically, you know, in some of the later editions, you start with 4 characters. I think in set 0, you can start with 6, but you can only move around like 4 at a time. It's basically like an MMO party. You can only have a party of 4 to start out, right? And of course, we got Ranma. Of course, Ranma's a common. Whether or not we have the girl form, I don't know. But yeah. Go. Cards. Ooh, 6, 6, and 4. And against multiple attacks, that one's gonna be bad. That one's gonna suck. I can tell you that right now. Just based on what I know. Hey, Sasami. There we go. I think maybe I did have a couple of cards from set 0 now that I think about it, because I thought I had Sasami. Okay. Here we go. Full cube. Battle suit. Oh, that'll be good. Yeah, that's a really, really good equipment. That's increased to those linked. Usually, whenever you have an equipment or something like that that affects your stats, it replaces your stats rather than adds to it. So anything that actually adds to whatever you already have, that's pretty impressive. Then of course we got shampoo. Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to have the transformation cards, right? And as you can see, everything is reversed from the cat version that we had. Right? Oh. Okay. The pack break, right? Yeah, it's mostly items. Eventually, I'm going to have to separate these out. Like I said, I don't know if we will have enough time to play like a full game. We might do like 3 locations just to kind of show you what's up. I don't know if you saw or not, but they also have let's see. Definitely tell it's a 90s game. Because they do use the gendered symbol. Probably wouldn't see that as much nowadays, but back then, you have cards like this that attack certain characters. It only initiates on women there. Discard clothing items. Yeah. Like I said, very 90s. Turn. Most powerful character unable to move from location until rescued by character with computer genius, survival, or a rescue card. Now, that was this kind of leads into, like I said, a couple of other issues that they had with the game, like most powerful character. Like that doesn't specify highest attack, highest damage, anything like that. Usually, I think in the rule book it specifically states like highest character, it moves from attack, then health, down. But this early on, I am not entirely sure. I didn't pull this out a little bit earlier. We've got our rule book here too. We can always take a look through that if we... I'm just going to assume it means attack to start out. Ocean. Yeah, and occasionally you'll see symbols like this. It's not super common, but usually that it donates specific types of skills usually. Later on in some of the later sets, it does become important because certain locations use certain symbols, so you usually need to be able to match that symbol. Like there's a couple dimensional rifts and that kind of thing. Use opponent's defense by 2. That's like an item that it's an equipment that you can keep with you, but then, you know, you discard it once you use it. No. Hey, there's the Ryoki ship. Yeah, so it seems like when they did this, well, repeats there. Hey, there we go. So we got the dimensional symbol there. So if we have Washu and a control cube, we can use that as a haven. That's kind of cool. Which, speaking of, I have not seen our haven yet. Should be one in here somewhere. Now, the interesting thing is some of these actually have a defense, which means you also have to attack them to do any kind of scavenging there, right? In Tokyo Megadome. Some locations in the later sets will even attack you. I don't know if we have any that will attack us in the starter deck here, but we might run into one here a little bit later. 3 females or peeping. Hot tub location. There you go, if only. Oh. There you go, Tsunami. The starter pack has a lot of really good equipments in here. From what I recall. Mason, play off field. Combat disasters draw 2 combat cards. Ooh, that can be pretty nasty. Hey, there's Mishlo. +1 all water effects. Oh. See, you've got the 80. You got the 80 police HQ. That one actually attacks you whenever you go to scavenge it. So you also have to take it down before it takes you down. You know, usually those aren't too bad, but depending on what L is going on the board at the time, or two, get a little bit hectic. Right. Two-dimensional locations. Hey, there we go. Argo there. Oh man, he's kind of beefy. Satellite strike every third movement destroys everything at location except Largo. So if we don't take him down really fast, then he'll destroy the items. And typically, whenever you play in solitaire mode, you have 7 locations. So you need to be able to take 4 of them. You need to take the majority of the items to win the game. So if he moves around too much, you're going to have issues, right? It only moves once, all right. I did not see the other Ranma, which is kind of for being a starter deck, right? In disguise. Okay. Here's the Galaxy Police HQ. All right. Okay, and there we go. So yeah, with these starter decks, I don't know if they were like pre-constructed or if they were just like put in as many cards as you need to actually make the deck, right? So there's a lot that goes into making a deck, and it's all very regimented. All right, here we go. Pack that's been sitting around since 1995. Still not open. All right, well, someone's got to. Hope we get something good. Like I said, it's hard to tell because they didn't do the shinies and all of that back then, but Nemesis hard soon. All right. Hey, so that one gives us the computer skill, which is good. All right, another item. Ooh. All boomers -2 attack and well, that goes without saying. All right, another one of him. All right, we came in our starter deck there. Restore any non-discarded character to full health. Yeah, there we go. Which is kind of odd because they all restore health at the end of a round anyways, but that could be pretty helpful in the middle of combat. That is a flash card, so you can use it in combat as needed, right? Yeah. Guessing this is our rare. We've got a lot of him. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it was the mass. Duplicates most recent disaster until defeated. Repeats twice for second and third most recent disasters consecutively. Okay, that one is gonna suck. See, the trick is, with it being a solitaire game, you can decide what goes in your own deck. So that's kind of nice, right? And here we go. Try opening these a certain way. Try making them as clean as possible. Or as much as I can. Okay, so the greenbacks are the rares. Guessing. Or maybe not. Interesting. We'll find out. Oh, Space Pirate Ryoko's hideout. Okay. Right on. And of course, that one you just need Ryoko. Some of them, I mean, most locations have the ore on it. So, like, you only need one of the skills to scavenge. But occasionally you will run into a location that has multiple, and you actually need multiple to do anything. But I like the flight suits. All the flight suits seems like they're pretty good, right? Carry skill or +1 to an existing skill. Relaxing hot springs. Close your eyes, YouTube. Dobermans. Seek and destroy Boomer. Really nasty. Moves any direction directly or nearest character. Okay. So, not as big of a deal in solitaire mode. Usually when you make your locations, usually just like put them in a line. But the way it's technically played is you can really build your map however you want to do it. So you don't have to necessarily make a line, as long as each land you place is touching one of the sides or corners of a previously put down location, then you can kind of make it whatever you want it to do. Here we go. At least in the later sets. Okay. Planet Jurai, there we go. One's after me, there you go. All disasters immediately move to this location. Oh my god. That one could be trouble. You know, usually in solitaire mode you only have to deal with 1 or 2 disasters at a time. But I could see that being kind of crazy in the multiplayer mode. Martial and blind luck. There we go. So yeah, when it comes to multiplayer, that was another interesting thing with the game, is you could do cooperative or you could do PvP, and whoever took the most items wins. While dealing with all of the disasters and stuff. We always played cooperative. We never really attacked each other. Playing back in school, we were friends, right? We were just in it for the love of the game. Right. Another Miss Hinako. There you go. Another hard suit. Man, I'm just getting a lot of hard suits. There you go. Police skill or +1 to existing skill. I don't really know if we have too many with the police. Now, if I was starting to do set 1, that was one of the major complaints with the set after this one. Like, this was the initial set. This was set 0. This was the first one that they ever came out with. But set 1, like I said, it had Armitage and Dominion Tank Police, and it was very, very police weighted, police and military weighted. Like everyone had one of those skills. Made it, you know, a little bit less interesting, I guess. Yeah. And so he has like no attack, but he has a lot of skills. And that's one of the interesting things about trying to build your deck, your first deck, is that you want to try and make sure to have a decent, you want to have like a decent spread, I guess you could say. Like, you definitely needed the characters that could attack and defend and that kind of thing too. But you also had to take the skills into play, so that you could actually like actually get to the items below. Player's most powerful character transforms to animal form with stats. Okay. This one's very much like... That one's very much like a Ranma specific one, isn't it? Because there aren't too many that have an animal form other than the Ranma characters. Now, DBZ had a couple in that set later on too. That we'll get to here in a little bit. Mass humanoid farm. Okay. Moves any direction to nearest character. Okay, so that seems to be like the thing with this one. With this set. They all kind of had their own things, right? It's the effects of one attack. There we go. Hey. Here you are. Use Jirai Royal Family. Should be nice if we want to use one of those as one of our haven. Dobermans. Kyo's restaurant. All right. Head on. Another Black Rose. Desert of bleached white bones. Right. Sad we don't have Ranma's like a female form yet. We got both the shampoos. Another one of those. The armor cat. I like that it gives you the climbing skill. Just for the fun of it. For the love of the game. Objects carried by character at any one location. And that you don't really have to worry about too much. That's more of like a multiplayer one, but... Free item. Still, okay. Yeah, not very much charm. Heals one item and runs, okay. Everyone's after me. I think in high school. Ooh. There. Okay. The Genome Tower. There's one item at each location he lands on until defeated. Oh boy. Ow, 8 defense. Oof. Oof. He's gonna be nasty. All right, last one, because this is basically all that I could afford that was still available on eBay. There really are not that many still available. You can find like booster packs on their own. Most of the booster like individual packs that I saw were somewhere around $15 to $20 per pack. Thankfully, the seller that I bought these from had a very good deal on these, so I was able to get, you know, a few different packs for about that. But yeah, they're pretty hard to find. A booster box, like I said, I think the cheapest one right now is $300, and there's only a couple available. There you go. The Dragon Ball Z set, good luck. There's only one of those available on eBay right now, and it's something like $14,000. Again, I have no idea why. There's nothing in there worth that much. Hey, there we go. We got Washu at least. Which is an item that doesn't do anything. All right. I don't see those very often. Usually the items do something. Equip as a flash effect. Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. Right. The hand computer. All right. We've got all of our booster cards ready to go. And some time going over them a little bit later. So for this, we're not going to use most of the booster sets. Like I said, we're just going to do kind of a quick overview of how to play. Because again, I've got a few things that I've got to do this afternoon, so I don't think I've got enough time for like a full game. But yeah, like I said, it works kind of like Forbidden Desert. So we're going to go through here and separate all of our different types of cards. So Masters. I am assuming the starter deck has everything already kind of laid out in a way that makes sense. So I'm hoping that we don't have to really do a whole lot. I know there's probably a few people like cringing for how I'm handling these cards right now. I'll just you wait. I've got some stories for you. There we go. I'm gonna separate all of our locations, all of our disasters, all of our characters, and kind of see what the lay of the land is to actually build the deck itself. It's a starter deck, so almost everything in here should already kind of be ready to go. But we do have to make a couple of decisions when it comes to stuff like which locations to use, which characters to use, that kind of thing. Now, when it comes to like your disasters and stuff, you have a little less choice. So the way this works is you can see that I'm building my draw deck right here. So the draw deck, where we pull out all of our equipments and flash effects and, you know, the standard stuff you would expect from a trading card game. You have to have as many disasters in your draw deck as you have normal draw cards. Okay, so yeah, literally half of the cards you can draw. So it gets, yeah, it can get very, very scary. And whenever you were drawing, you know, how I said you keep drawing until you have 7 cards? Well, you stop drawing the moment a disaster comes up. And that disaster enters the field immediately. So, yeah. Go. Alright, so we've got everything separated. Now, normally, like I said, you would have about 7 locations. We have a lot more than that here that we can kind of choose from. So you kind of go through and decide what you want to put onto the field and which one's not, right? So there's none listed explicitly as a haven in here. Bring up the old rule book just to double check, because again, this has changed so many times over the years. I think the ones with the little castle symbol are supposed to be your havens, right? Yeah, it kind of shows you the general layout. And you can find most of this online. There's actually a website, I think it's actually just Ani-Mayhem online, that has been maintained and still looks like it's from 1995, but it's still up and still doing a good job maintaining all of this information. They basically have direct scans of most of this stuff available to us. So, you know, if you can't really see what all this says, because I know the lights are kind of bright, gives you an idea, right, of where you can find it. So I was hoping to find out a little bit about the havens here, but for the sake of, hey, there we go. Attack, planet or dimensional symbol. You can cross over that location during your movement, but you may not stop on it unless you have an equipment, an item, or a character with the corresponding symbol. Some locations can be turned into havens. Yeah. So for the sake of ease, because we don't have anything listed with the haven card, we're just going to use one, right? But just kind of give an overview of what this typical game would look like. So you have usually, got my other shampoo here. So you can usually start with, for the sake of solitaire, make it harder for us, we would start with 4 characters. We're going to have shampoo. We're going to have Washu. Actually, no, she's got police and investigations. So there we go. So our shampoo, we're taking 2 cards, only really counts as 1 since we're using 1 as a transformation card, if for whatever reason we needed. He's got a lot of skills available and pretty decent attack. There we go. And it probably wouldn't hurt to have Ms. Mish. So, you know, if we were playing on our own, those would be our 4 characters. The other characters that we can choose from, they go into your draw pile too. So you can not only, you know, pull disasters, you can pull other characters as well. Okay? So these would be like our 4 starting characters, right? That was kind of hard to see because my mat's not great. There we go. Now, for the sake of ease, what we would normally do is we would use tokens. Just keep it simple, because all of these characters and occasionally some equipments can all move together, right? So, you know, in our case, we'd keep the characters by ourselves and we would just use them, move the quarters around or whatever. But, you know, in a typical game, we would place our haven and then, you know, do a line. It used to be, you know, you would make all kinds of different shapes. As long as it is touching one of the sides or the corners, you would be perfectly fine, right? Here we go. Again, this is a smaller game. I'm not going to do the whole board. I'm just going to kind of show you what it would normally look like. Ring of Life is going to be our haven. We're all going to be starting there. The rest of these, you can just kind of put those to the side. We're not going to be doing anything with the rest of the locations for the rest of the game. All right, all of these guys are in a party. They get the party bean. There we go. That's, I think these were the same tokens that I used way back then too. Right? Now your combat cards have their own thing going on. Those will be off to the side somewhere. I'll put them down here since you can see them. Normally you would shuffle them and whatnot. Now your disasters. This is where things start getting really interesting, right? Okay. Disasters. Go ahead and shuffle those up. Make sure they're nice. You know, I'm not going to shuffle too much just because I don't really see too much as the stats or anything of what we had originally, right? Okay. And the nice thing is, you used to be able to, or when we used to play, you could make the deck any size. There's really no limit. I think this is a 75 card starter deck. But yeah, there were no rules in terms of like deck limits. The main thing was, again, you have to make sure that as many disasters as many cards as you have in your draw pile, you need to make sure that you have as many disasters as well. Oh, same thing here. Yeah, I know some people are probably mauled for how I'm treating the cards. That's right. We're raw dogging it, baby. No sleeves. Nothing. Like I said, we'll get to some of the stories a little bit. So these are my item cards, right? These are my item cards, right? Yeah. Okay. So the item cards, you would normally put one underneath each location. Okay. Oh. If I'm bumping the mic, I really do not have a whole lot of room here. There we go. And just like the locations, we are done with the item cards. Or with all the extras. We're done with those for the game. Nothing else to be done. Okay. And then we've got our disaster pile. So underneath each location, we would also put 2 disasters. 2. 2. 2. And cool. And then the rest go back into your draw deck that we have been discussing all this time, right? Okay. Actually, I probably should not shuffle in my characters quite yet. Actually, I can probably shuffle in my characters. I just don't want to shuffle in the disasters quite yet. Okay. I don't know if this is the proper order to do it, at least for the start of the game. That's how we're going to do it. Okay. Very poor shuffling job, but okay. Let's draw our 7. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. So there's our starting hand right there. Now we can go ahead and start shuffling in bastards. Go. I think normally you can do it just doing your like blue cards, your blue and equipment cards, without worrying about the characters and all of that. But we're just probably gonna do one location just to kind of show you how it plays. The best shuffling job in the world, but it'll get the job done. They're not worth anything, they're fine. I haven't shuffled in ages. It's been a long time since I played like any card game. We sell a ton at work. And yeah, I don't know. It's just it's too much to keep up with these days. You know, back when your parents were buying all the cards, it's a little bit different story, right? A little bit different when it's your own paycheck and you know, Magic's got a new set coming out every 3 months. Not even including the collectible sets, right? Okay. It's gonna be our draw pile right there. And we got our combat cards. Not that many. In the decks that I would make, we had a lot more. We had a lot more than this. But bear in mind, you know, the combat cards are supplementary to your item and image enhancement, right? So like all of the equipment your characters are going to be carrying around, those are as important as any of this stuff. This stuff helps you in the middle of combat, but and thankfully we'll just go ahead and keep them here because they have a red back, so you can kind of tell what's going on with them, right? Right. So we've got our character cards. Take a look at our equipments. So to start the game, oh wow, a lot of characters. Probably should have shuffled better, right? All right. So when you start the game, you can go ahead and start putting on equipments and whatever you happen to want to use, right? So we got shampoo here. We'll go ahead and start in our human form. Things might change around. The +2 attack to, there we go. The +2 attack to Mishtal, there we go. And then played 1 equipment. Flashcard, don't want to use that. You can only play 1 equipment, 1 enhancement, and 1 environmental every round. But you do not necessarily have to leave your haven in the first round. So if you wanted to risk it, you can go ahead and just kind of keep drawing until you have more stuff to play, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Technically, we're on round 2 right now, right? We got some attack pods. This one is only available to carry 1 character with all equipment, no vehicles, but it gives you +1 to attack. And it increases your move speed more than likely for most of your characters. Now, there are vehicles that can carry up to 4 players or 4 characters. So, you know, vehicles are kind of nice. You really want the +2 to attack more than anything. So with him, I'm trying to read the fine print. I know it's probably kind of hard for you to see there, but super strength off Earth except when drunk. Okay. Use first stats and strength skill 2 of 3 turns. Every 3rd turn, Mr. Fujisawa's had a bit too much to drink. Use second stance and no strength skill. Every third round of combat, and that's something we're going to have to keep track of. Every third round of combat, he goes down to the other stats there. Okay. Go. 1, 2, 3, 6. All right, and we got another flash card. Want to that's increased to those listed. Gained a flying and strength. We'll go ahead and put those on shampoo. There we go. I'll draw one more. And I think we should be good to go. Because again, we're just going to do one location, kind of show you how it works. So, do I have royalty, computer, or Sasami? I do not. So what we're going to have to do is kind of skip around until we go to 3. Do any of them have survival? They do not. And I don't have priest either, so we're gonna go to Franken High because that's really the only one that I have skills to actually use. Okay, so here's where the things get kind of wild. We start pulling our disasters. All right, and we have all characters at location teleported 4 locations to the right. Okay. Boop. So normally you would just go around. It's just a circle. It's easy, not too difficult, right? Thankfully, we have both of those strength 4+. Yeah, we should be good. So we've defeated one disaster, and that can go into the old discard pile down there. That's our discard pile, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. Sorry if I'm bumping things. All right, so normally defense 20, you'd need to be attacking and stuff, and all kinds of things going on at the same time. You must have flying vehicle. It can move 3 different times. So 1, 2, 3 doesn't really matter because I couldn't do anything there anyways, because it's a dimensional location, right? Have anything with combats because I want to show you guys combat. There we go. All right. So we immediately start with combat. Depending on which version of the rules you play, later versions, charm combat is a thing no matter what. Early versions in like set 0 right here, charm combat was only a player versus player kind of thing. We're going to play with the newish rules because I think that's more fun. So what you would do is anyone with less than 7, which is everyone, hooray, who's immediately location of nearest combat disaster and allies with that disaster. Okay, well, we didn't have any other combat disasters. So immediately combat starts. He's got 7 charm. He's got 7 charm. Our highest charm is 4. The way charm combat works is if anyone has lower than the disaster's charm, or charm, and the only way they can become uncharmed is by taking twice the damage of the difference between the two. So 7 minus 4 would be 3. She would have to take 6 damage, which would immediately kill her. So, you know, have fun with that. But let's not forget that we have a lot of stuff going on right here. So we'll choose combat cards here. Here we go. And of course we have a +1, still not enough. Go. Let me double check and see if the combats actually take a charm and take a combat card too. I think they do. It's been a long time since I played. Okay. The combat cards are only for your characters, which is good to know. So yeah, so we get +1 to our charm there. So our difference is now 7 to 5. We would take 4 damage, which would bonk her, but it wouldn't kill her, which would be nice. And do we have anything here that would help us? Oh, okay. So everyone is charmed for at least 1 round. All right. Which means they can attack with impunity to whoever they want. Now, the attacks would usually, if there were no items, attack whoever the weakest character is first. In this case, it would be Lisa. And pretty simple here, 3 to 2. Lisa would normally go down. Let's take a look and see what our combat card looks like. Multiply my attack by ×2. Okay, so she now has 2 attack. Are these real anime characters? What do you mean in the game? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this was Ranma Half, Bubblegum Crisis, El Hazard. Later sets were like Armitage, Indian Tank Police. Oh yeah, they were all very much real animes. All right, but yeah, that doesn't help me at all. So 3 to 3, she's bonked essentially. There we go. Actually, yeah, here we go. 3 to 2, yeah. So she would be bonked, immediately go out. Right? Thankfully, she's not killed. So again, to be killed, it would have to be double her health. So she would have to hit -2. Hit -1, so she goes out of play for at least a round, right? All right, but then now it's my turn. So here we go. We'll have them all attack. Basically, just melt them. Track 2 from my attack. Okay, well, that's fine. So he would attack 3 versus 3. Goes down. Congratulations, you win. The hard part with that one is, of course, the charm battle there. So finally, we've got everyone. We still have strength +4, so we can go ahead and pick up our item, right? Discard to heal 1 damaged character to full health. Or go ahead and do that. So you have just kind of like a basic round right there. Like I said, it's quick, it's dirty, it's not probably the cleanest representation of it, but it kind of gives you an overall idea of how things are going to look in a typical game, right? And then you would do that for each location. And if, say, a major disaster popped up or something like that, then, you know, take a look over here. Have another major disaster. Hey, look, Brian Mason, he popped up there. You know, he would keep... Oh, he's not a combat, but yeah, they would keep moving around. And they always pick up 1 item to take with them. And then when they leave the field, you know, say they started over here and moved around, completed 1 circle, then they would destroy that item that they had with them. So yeah, you have to pick up as many of the items underneath these locations as you can before they get to them first and end up destroying them. Yeah, combat disasters draw 2 to combat cards. It's pretty nasty. Does look like... So it does look like combat cards do apply to the disasters too. I messed that up. But I wanted to show you a couple of other things, like I said, before we head out here, because there was a lot more to this than just me opening a couple of packs and kind of showing you like 1 round of gameplay, right? Let me see here. Clean up all of this. Make some room. All right. Like I said, I had some fun stories with Ani-Mayhem back in the day. So let's show you what it's all about. That's... All right, here we go. I still have them. You didn't think that I got rid of those cards, did you? So, you know, you were asking if these are real anime characters. I mean, surely you know who that is, right? So ignore the Lorcana cards. Lorcana and Hololive Ice Schwartz cards that I've got from our last unboxing here. Yeah, we got some interesting ones. We got a Baby Gohan signed by Krillin's voice actor for some reason. Who knows why? That was, my friend went up to a convention up in the closest city, and a lot of the Dragon Ball Z VAs were going to be there. And remember, this was like the height of Dragon Ball on you know, Adult Swim or whatever after school. So hype was real, but for whatever reason, the VA for Baby Gohan, he couldn't get to him, so he's just like asked Krillin's VA if he could sign it. So yeah, I have a Baby Gohan signed by Krillin's VA. The Shinlon, I'll get to that in a bit, but yeah, this was all basically, this whole thing used to be my deck. I used to play like the entire thing. But yeah, it was mostly like that one. I was a big Armitage fan, so like anything Armitage the Third, I was all for that. Back then. Let me see if I've got Armitage sitting around in here somewhere. Yeah. Of course, you got the impending doom right there. Where's Vegeta at? I know I've got Vegeta sitting around in here somewhere. And Oolong. But yeah, when the Dragon Ball Z set came out, it just like completely obliterated any kind of sense of balance within the game. Because again, like you couldn't have, you know, Ranma running around, Ranma and Shampoo, and then you've got fucking Goku, right? Like there's no way to make that balanced, like at all. So, you know, the entire second set, the second expansion was entirely Dragon Ball Z. And unfortunately, yeah, it just really kind of messed up a whole lot of the balance. Are they thematically sound, or did they just put anything on anything? I mean, it's all pretty thematically balanced, but it meant that like you couldn't really use the cards from set one. Like we were just playing a second ago. I mean, you kind of saw the stats. You know, we got characters like 3 attack and 3 whatever, right? But then you get to Dragon Ball Z and you've got in Future Trunks as a shiny running around with like 6 and 7 attack. You know, there's just no way to play the old cards with the Dragon Ball Z set and really make it balance. And there was really no coming back from that. And it didn't really help that, you know, this was Dragon Ball Z at really the height of its fame, right? And with all of the licensing and stuff, there was really nowhere that they could go with it. You know, they could have made like maybe a Sailor Moon set, and that would have been able to be competitive. But really, like the majority of people at the time knew of Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, and maybe Gundam. And that was about it. There was no way that they were going to be able to find another series to license that was anywhere near what Dragon Ball Z's popularity was. And yeah, you know, there was no coming back from that. So eventually, yeah, you know, after the Dragon Ball Z set came out, it eventually just, the game faded. You know, there was nothing else that could be done. And yeah, like I said, these cards they're 30 years old at this point. You can kind of see they're kind of beat up. Here's my Naomi. There she is. But you know, they've traveled across the country with me, and hey, there's a boy. And they're sticking around all this time, right? There's Trunks. I still like breaking them out every now and then. just kind of going over what I had, and like I said, it makes a nice solitaire game. Like, it was designed with solitaire in mind, which is, you know, another unique thing about it. It wasn't just one of the first anime card games. It was really one of the first card games that you could just kind of play on your own in the trading card era, right? So, now the Shenlong, a fun story with this. So this is the card. Like I said, it's not worth much. If I had it graded, it might get like a 5 tops. And Shenlong, he was the card that I traded a first edition Charizard for. Back in the day. And I'm not memeing on that. No, my parents can probably back me up because they were there when I unwrapped the thing, right? Yeah, we were big in Pokemon, and yeah, I had a first edition Charizard back in the day. But you know, we played with them, right? Like, we played with the cards. We weren't trying to speculate and figure out what the cards were going to be worth in 30 years. Like, the card industries were like brand new. So, you know, Pokemon, the time we started getting into this, Pokemon had started entering its second and third sets, and we were kind of like, you know, it's kind of weird what these new cards look like, right? Like, for lack of a better term, they look too Japanese. I mean, nowadays that would be a selling point, but back then it was kind of like they were a little too out there for us. So we had started looking for new card games to play by the time the second and third Pokemon sets were out. You know, we'd kind of play through it. So we got into this, and sure enough, we got a Dragon Ball Z booster. One of my buddies, you know, he got Future Trunks. Another one of my buddies got Shenlong, and yeah, we were playing this before school almost every single day, right? And yeah, eventually I was just like, you know, we're not playing Pokemon anymore. I want Shenlong. Do you want my Charizard? And sure enough, you know, he did the trade. Looking back on it, that's might be the worst trade in trading card game history. But you know, again, we played with the cards. We weren't speculating or anything like that. I honestly cannot imagine like, trying to be a kid nowadays and like get into these card games, because there's such an industry around it. Like, I almost feel like you don't even really play with the cards anymore. You know, even if I kept that Charizard, like, who knows if it would really be worth what everyone says it is, right? Like, everyone talks about Logan Paul's or whoever's, and, you know, it being worth like 300K, something like that. But I mean, that was a card that I played with. There was no way that it would have been, you know, 10 grade condition or anything like that. We didn't really think of the cards that way. And I still don't, you know, that's why I really don't have any problem. Now, Shenlong, I'll protect him a little bit just because he's a shiny. But yeah, I mean, you can see these cards they're pretty beat up. They've got dents in them. They've got scratches. I have really no problem, you know, with these cards that I just bought that might be some of the last booster packs available for this game anywhere at this point. Because I can't really imagine that there were that many booster packs outside of the boxes even still available. I mean, they've been discontinued for 30 years. But yeah, I have no problem playing with them and shuffling them. Yeah, the game. I don't really dwell on it too much. I think it's just kind of more of a funny story than anything. And you know, I like Shenlong. He's a cool looking dragon. That was the other thing. I was like big into my dragon phase, and like Charizard was cool, but he wasn't Shenlong, right? Yeah, you know, I don't think there's any point in dwelling on what I could have had. I guess it was 30 something years ago. There's really nothing I can do about it at this point. So I'd rather just go through and enjoy the cards that I do still have, and what's available to me at the time. And I figure, you know, worst comes to worst, I just keep working and keep doing my thing here, and then, you know, maybe one day I'll be rich enough to just buy the first edition Charizard back, right? But I'm not losing any sleep over it. But that being said, hey, there's Krillin. I don't know why he signed Baby Gohan card. It's so weird. And Bulma. But yeah, that being said, you know, I just kind of wanted to show you one of my favorite card games from back in my past. Like I said, it's a card game that not a whole lot of people have heard of, but it's got such an interesting history to it. It is genuinely, if you can find someone, and this is fairly common, is people will sell their lots of old cards. So if you're not someone that cares about like breaking boxes or anything like that, and you just want to play the game, you can find people selling their old lots and old collections fairly easily. That might be one of the easier ways to do it. If you just want to play the game and don't care about, you know, opening brand new packs or anything like that. But overall, I thought it's still a very fun game. And, you know, I like Forbidden Desert and Forbidden Island and all of those. And this is really kind of the predecessor to those kind of games. So yeah, that being said, I do need to head out. I've got to go talk to my buddy. Gonna be taking care of his cat this weekend. But yeah, you know, thanks a ton for coming by and sticking with me on this kind of weird old card game. A very quick and scuffed look at what a general like game would look like. Even really a full game, just like one turn of it. But yeah, it gives you an idea. But that being said, I think I might try rebuilding the deck and play this on my own at some point. But you know, that's Ani-Mayhem. It's an interesting game. I'd recommend looking up the history of it if you can. And I think that Ani-Mayhem online site, if it still around, they used to have an online version of this that you could play. I tried downloading it not too long ago, and it didn't seem like it could find all the cards that I was looking for. But if you're good with deck lists and have the patience to go through and actually make it, might not be a bad idea if you just want to try and play it online. It'd be really nice if someone could build like an online version of this, like a Java version. But it is a lot of fun. But that being said, thank you very much, everybody, for sticking with me. 2 streams in one day. It's been a while. We will be off tomorrow, but I will try making it with some more streams later on this week. Like I was saying, we've got some issues with Once Human, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to stream that again. But we did get a little bit more FF8 done last night, and kind of in the mood to maybe get a little bit more of that done. So yeah, just kind of keep an eye out. Same as always, like, subscribe, help get to that 1,500 subs so we can you know, keep growing the channel. But that way you'll at least see when I'm going live and get those notifications about an hour ahead of time. But that being said, I'm like dead tired because I've been up for a while at this point. But thanks a ton, everybody. I hope you all had I don't know if it'd be a fun time, but an interesting and educational time for the past hour or so. But take care. Enjoy the start to your week. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.